Hi guys, Greg here. I'm going to be doing a review of episode 9 of season 7 of The Walking Dead. I don't have cable, so I had to rent it off Amazon today. What a great episode. Before I get into it though, wanted to give a couple of shout outs. Wanted to give a shout out to the Eagle Moss Collections, who has this Walking Dead collector's model series. As you can see here, you got Rick and Daryl. Daryl. That's right, guys. If you're a collector and a big fan of The Walking Dead, you're probably going to want to check these guys out. Each month, Eagle Moss will send you a collector's model based on one of your favorite characters from the show. It starts at just $4.95 plus shipping. With the first package, you'll get Rick, a collector's character booklet, and an overall guide to the collection. Then after that, you'll get 2 new characters and character booklets as well, each month with your continued subscription of $17.95 a month. That's actually a discount of the retail price. Shipping is at $1.95. They have other special gifts and goodies as well for later packages, and they are officially approved by AMC. It's a great way to get your collection started. There's a link in the description box. And the other one I wanted to give a quick shout out to are these guys at No Evil. They have this shirt right here. They sent John a shirt as well. He's not with me in the video today. He will be rocking that shirt in an upcoming video. I mean, come on, look how fucking cool this shirt is. I mean, these toys are cool, but the shirt's really cool too. No Evil is run by these independent artists, Francis T and his brother Franco. Every one of their shirts is designed and printed in-house to assure top-notch quality. And also, this t-shirt, like, it's soft, it's comfortable, and they feature some, like, really killer designs, which you can see more of at tnoevil.com. Now, enough unpaid shoutouts. These are just really cool products that they sent over, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll shout you guys out. These are some cool shit. So rockin' the road. The Walking Dead, I feel, is back in form, baby. I loved everything about this episode. Like, the first half of season 7 was like devastation mode. I mean, it starts off with the death of Abraham and Glenn, as we all know. And as the season progresses, our characters become even more distant and more detached. Whenever we see Daryl, he's a slave in Negan's community. Maggie and Sasha are hiding out at the Hilltop. Carol is doing her Carol thing. Oh, stay away from me. Morgan is now with Ezekiel's people at the Kingdom. He's away from Alexandria. And worst of all, Rick is just not being Rick. He's acting purely out of fear, surrendering his strengths to Negan's will. And I did feel some of what a lot of people were complaining about. The Walking Dead had become the Negan show. Our characters weren't together. They were all separated. For the most part, they were becoming rather weak-minded. And then along the way, Spencer and Olivia were killed, which is a real bummer. But I love the way the first half of season 7 ended with the remaining core members coming back together, ready to fight Negan. It wasn't until the last scene of episode 8 where I realized how great season 7 already is, because I wasn't too sure what direction the show was going, and I didn't like what had become of the characters I loved so much, because I wanted them all to get back to who they were as a group, which is a great intentional effect of the show. The first half of season 7 is Negan not just, killing people, he's also just tearing apart their souls. But in this episode, it does give you that feeling of our heroes are on the rise. In this episode, we start off with Father Gabriel. He's jacking all the supplies at Alexandria. He puts them in a car and drives off in the middle of the night. It's a smart opening because the first half of this season was really a lot about losing hope. And even though it ended on a hopeful note, the second half of the season starts off in a way we're left wondering if the character who started off very cowardly, who grew to become courageous, is now going back to his cowardly ways, aka losing hope. To me, this episode is all about the tug and pull of feelings of hope and then feelings of not having hope. Then we see Rick and his group speaking with Gregory at the Hilltop. Hi, his name's Gregory too, isn't that weird? Who's of course giving the usual bullshit in his cowardly ways, how he's not gonna help out, going back to the loss of hope. And then immediately entered into some hope again. Because there's this very touching moment where the people at the Hilltop, who are not really skilled fighters, I think most of them aren't fighters at all, gather together to tell Rick and primarily Maggie that they're willing to learn to fight. And in the first half of the season, we only saw King Ezekiel one time, which I know was a bummer for a lot of people, because he's such a big part of the comic books. I gotta say, the dynamics of all of his scenes now feel different and feel actually more authentic, weirdly, knowing that he's putting on a voice and he's putting on an act, as they revealed in his episode, where this is all a facade that he's putting on, that if he acts like a king, people will have hope. So Jesus then takes Rick's group to the Kingdom to meet Ezekiel, where they're greeted by Richard, who's this guard that breathes heavy. Like, in most scenes when I see him in, I don't know if I'm the only one who notices this, but he kind of breathes a little heavy. But I do like that character. Something tells me he's going to be one of the characters that dies in a few episodes. But I really do feel this man's motivation, and I think the actor does a great job of playing someone who possesses strength, but at the end of the day surrenders to hierarchy. He's like a true soldier to a king. But there's this scene when Morgan reunites with Rick, and it's a very touching moment as well. When asked how Rick and Morgan know each other, Rick simply says that they know each other from the start. And it's just this great moment of history between the two. Morgan like comes and goes a lot, but he's been around since the first season technically. And no matter how often they get separated, they always come back together. I love a good debate scene, and the scene when Ezekiel and Rick are negotiating over whether or not Ezekiel should help out Rick in his quest to take down Negan is a really, really well done scene. I just gotta say, the dude who speaks for Ezekiel, Jerry, that Asian guy, fucking hilarious. The way this scene plays out is great because it really does bounce back and forth between hope that Ezekiel will help, and then, no, maybe he won't. Oh, maybe he will. I don't think he will. Like in that scene when Morgan says they shouldn't kill. It was a rare moment where I really understood Morgan's reasoning for not killing, because normally I'm just annoyed when he's talking about it. He acknowledges that if they fight, yes, survivors will die, they could possibly win, but most likely, people on their side are gonna die too. He basically sees that if they fight, it's more than just a mission to take them out, it will be a war. And he actually suggests a plan I didn't think was terrible at first, which was to just kidnap Negan to start with. But I love the reaction Andrew Lincoln gives when Morgan starts speaking up about not killing. Like, he has this look of, like, just pure annoyed, but trying to keep his shit together still with him. But that monologue, that story that Rick shares about the rock that was in the middle of the road that the king placed there. It was a great moment because as a viewer, you really feel like, okay, this is gonna be the scene when Ezekiel goes, all right, we'll fight with you. But mainly I love that story because I love the lesson to it, and I feel like the story was told so well by Andrew Lincoln that I'll remember that story forever and be able to share that with my great-grandchildren. I did enjoy the scene with the kid, Benjamin, the dude who's part of the kingdom who's learning to stand up to walkers, where he bumps into Carol in the woods. Because I do feel that Carol will eventually fight alongside Rick's group again. But they're building that up. They've been building it up for a while now, but they're still building it up. You can't give all the redemption in one episode, but I feel like they're teasing it again. There's just that interaction where Benjamin has a later scene with Ezekiel, where he's basically saying that after speaking with Carol, he sees why Rick's people feel the way they do, and that's what motivates Benjamin to be like, we should probably help out Rick. Let's kind of look what's happened to Carol now. The moment when Ezekiel tells Rick that they won't fight is part of this episode's strength as well. Because like I said, this episode does a great job at tugging and feeling of hope. So while it sucks to hear that, I feel that something will change where Ezekiel's people will probably have to step up to the plate. Because, you know, there's that great moment where Ezekiel offers to let Daryl hide inside the kingdom because the saviors don't step foot inside, but Daryl calls him out saying, how long does he think that'll last? I'm thinking there's gonna be a time where the saviors step on in. But that shot where Daryl has to, you know, come to terms that he's being left behind from Rick's group again because he has to hide out at the kingdom, that was a really heartbreaking moment. Because Daryl already had to be stripped away from the group, and you could feel that fear in Daryl's eyes of just not being with his family. Especially if something goes wrong with the Rick's group, he's not going to be able to be there to help them out. I even did like that little touch when Sasha is venting to Rosita about her frustrations towards Ezekiel not helping them out, where then Rosita brushes her off. Because when Sasha was venting, I was thinking, I don't feel like in real life, I mean, I know this is like an apocalyptic show and everything, but I don't feel like Rosita would suddenly be like friends with Sasha. So when Rosita basically told her to go fuck off, I thought it was a great touch because it felt really in tune with how these characters behave. Sasha probably feels like her and Rosita both have something in common because they lost the man they loved. But, you know, Rosita wasn't with Abraham because Sasha took him away, at least in her eyes, you know? But the most intense scene, I think the scene that everyone's gonna be raving about, is the scene with the chain, the row, that took place on the highway. Because prior to the walkers showing up, the show has already done a great job at making it feel like the saviors have an eye on everything at all times already. So when they go to the cars that are blocking the road, they have to move them. And just in that moment where they have to move the cars, you're already like, oh my god, you better make this quick. But the show continues its strength of tug and pull at hope. They get to this row, this chain, I don't know the exact word for it, this cable. It's like, oh, this is bad, but then there's a bunch of explosives there and they don't have any fucking weapons. So they're like, we need to take these weapons. So we get that feeling of hope. All right, we got some explosives now. We need to hurry up because now there's walkers on the way. They hear on the walkie-talkie that Negan is sending people back to Alexandria to look for Daryl. So they need to hurry the fuck up. So as it was playing out, the horde was getting closer. I mean, Andrew Lincoln's intensity is one of my favorite things of this show. That actor deserves way more recognition for his work on this show. I'm talking like Golden Globe status for television. He deserves to be more recognized for the fucking work he puts on this show. Because when the walkers start coming, Carl and the others are trying to like get the cars back and arrange to block the way. And it's all going so fast and it's so suspenseful. I didn't exactly know what Rick was planning to do with the cars. All I heard him really say was, when I wave my hand down, we'll do it. The cables between them, and they just start plowing down a bunch of walkers. That was one of the coolest moments of the entire series. It was like, yes, this is the fucking Walking Dead that I was hoping we'd get back to. This show's really giving us the redemption now. Even though I know none of that's happening to the Saviors, it's a good symbolism of them fighting for survival, because after they mow them all down, they get back in the van. Rick's still like coming off of the, the fear and the suspense and how they almost died. But Michonne is like, we made it. We're gonna make it. Interracial love is so beautiful in this show. And then the Saviors return to Alexandria looking for Daryl, and they just start breaking shit, which just gets on my nerves because they constantly, like, there's a series of shots of them breaking stuff where I'm like, why do they have to be this big of dicks? I mean, yeah, it adds to the fact that they're Saviors, they all fucking deserve to die, a bunch of dicks. They're just like knocking over tables and plates. I'm like, Daryl's not hiding underneath that small table. Why are you knocking it over? I really like that actor who was leading the Saviors into Alexandria that day. I call him Negan Jr. I think the actual character's name is Simon. I don't know who his character is, but he feels like he could be like a relative of Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And there's also a very touching scene with Aaron and his boyfriend, whose name I can't remember. But Aaron is this interesting character that I feel keeps teetering on the line of they're gonna kill him off. They're not gonna kill him off. We don't want to get too close to Aaron because we might need to kill him off later, but then they've kind of just been building up Aaron more and more each season. Because he's that character who you can feel the fear. Like he's a fearful guy, but he always acts off courage, always acts off what is right. And that exchange between him and his boyfriend was really touching. There's moments like that make me go, are they gonna kill off Aaron? Because his boyfriend was very much against him having to go out there and look for Gabriel once they discovered that Gabriel stole all the shit. So I was like, are they setting this up so we can feel really heartbroken when Aaron dies? But beyond the cable scene where they're all mowing down those walkers, my favorite moment of the episode were its final moments. Because they discover that Gabriel took off with all their supplies, bringing us that feeling of lack of hope. So when they go looking for Gabriel, they start tracking him. It leads to this intense scene where Rick and the people that are with him are suddenly surrounded by a large horde of men and women all armed with all kinds of weapons. And when they're all surrounding them, I understood the group's initial fearful reaction. But as a viewer, I was watching it going like, oh, well, these guys are gonna be people that Rick probably recruits and they're all gonna fight the Saviors together. So they have these great shots where it's kind of scary because they're outnumbered and the group that we love is scared. We don't know what these guys are gonna do. But it ends on this wonderful shot where Rick realizes what the audience knows. He found what he needed, people that can fight. So in one of the rarest moments of the show, he goes from intense to joyful. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Rick smile with such glee like that in this show. I think it's a moment that for fans of the show, especially people who really love Rick, they're not gonna forget that smile that Rick gave. So all in all, I'm super happy this show is back. I can't wait to see how the rest of this season unfolds. And something tells me that when this season is done, I might mark it down as being one of the better seasons of The Walking Dead. If you're new to the channel, you can subscribe to The Real Rejects. Follow me at The Greg Alba on Instagram and Twitter. You could also follow at The Real Rejects on Twitter. And shout out again to Eagle Moss Collections for these awesome toys they sent over to me. And Tino Evil. They have awesome shirts there. You gotta go check these motherfuckers out.